Hello and welcome to another segment of Woman to Woman. We're so glad to be with you today. I'm glad that you decided to join us. So glad that you have opened your home to join Lady Christine today. I'm so glad for just another opportunity to share of the goodness of God and just to share, what's on our hearts as the Lord has given us. I hope that you all have enjoyed your work week and that, you've been able to accomplish all that you set out to do. But if you haven't, just remember, if God opens the door for you to see one more day, there's always tomorrow. Today, we wanted to talk to you on a subject about matters of the heart. There's a lot of times that, there are things that are going on within us physically that we're not able actually to see. We don't really realize what those things are. We're might be experiencing some after effects, some type of lethargicness. You may be feeling, shortness of breath, some things that you may not even be able to explain. I know even with me, there were things that I was able to do 10 years ago that I am able to do today, but I have to do them differently. So I wanted to share with you and talk to you today about that because, it's as we get older, as life goes on, sadly to say that a lot of things that affect our heart are not just dedicated solely to someone based on their age. It's not necessarily based on just your age. It's based on, just the fact that this is life. There are a lot of individuals, children that are born with issues concerning their heart. So today we're talking about matters of the heart. As I was beginning to do a little research looking at the CDC guidelines, and I began to just kind of look through, so some of the facts that I'm giving you are from the CDC, to just ask, what is the leading cause of death for women? And as I began to look at them, one of the first leading causes of death was heart disease. Above that was unintentional injuries. So unintentional injuries showed as 30%. But below that, in 2017, according to the CDC, the leading cause of death was heart disease. Rolling forward into 2020, we're in 2021 right now, and the full year has not played all the way out. But I looked at 2020, and this is what was really interesting to me, because we've been dealing with a lot of deaths according to COVID-19, which we didn't find out about it until 2020. But they're calling it COVID-19 because it actually started in 2019, and we were not made aware. The leading cause of death, according to 2020's CDC and JAMA, says that the leading cause of death in women was heart disease. Third under that was COVID-19. Now we're hearing, like I said, so much every day, daily about COVID-19. And I'm not negating the fact that it is important that many people have lost their lives. But we're talking about health matters today. And I wanted to let the women know that one of the leading causes of death in us is heart disease. They're not talking about heart disease so much. What they're talking about right now is coronary, not the coronary artery disease, but they're talking about COVID-19. So we wanted to talk about matters of heart in a couple of different ways. So knowing that the leading cause of death for women is heart disease, that gave me a good scare there, because there was just something that, just as I was thinking and praying about God, what to say to the women today, what issues are we facing? Because this is woman to woman. I want to talk about the issues that we are facing. And what dropped in my heart was the matters of the heart. And I began to think about matters of the heart. And I wanted to bring it out not only in a spiritual way, but also in our physical health and natural. So when we look at heart disease, one of the leading causes of heart disease it has several symptoms. One of them would be chest pains, palpitations. You could have a fast heart rate. You could have shortness of breath, not able to breathe. You could be walking up a flight of stairs and not be able to catch your breath. Shortness of breath. When we see these things happening, a lot of times we want to ignore the fact that something is really going on, and when you have these warning signs, they're there for a reason. When we have warning signs about things, we need to take notice of them, because God is allowing us to see them or to experience that something is not the same, something is different, something is wrong. So it's important for us to pay attention to our bodies, to know ourselves, to know how we operate, to know how, if I'm having trouble going up a flight of stairs, is this normal for me, or is this unnormal for me? So we have to pay attention, ladies. We have to pay attention to what is going on with our bodies. Our bodies change as we get older, and we cannot ignore the facts that things change along with them. So shortness of breath, sometimes we might have gastroenterology, that's a problem. Nausea, believe it or not, nausea is a part of a symptom for heart disease, the possibility of it. And so when we start to experience anything that is out of the norm, anything that is out of the norm for us, we need to pay attention to it. And sometimes we don't want to necessarily go to the doctors. We're busy. We got a lot of things we got to do. We're trying to accomplish. But listen, if you don't take care of you, when you leave this earth, someone else is going to pick up the job that you're doing and keep it going. So we want to take care of our bodies and know what is happening with ourselves and pay attention to the warning signs. Because when the warning signs come, if we pay attention to them and we go out and begin to research, everything is right at our fingertips today. You can find out so much information right on the web, and you have it right in your phones. All that service is available. So why not use it? Why not pay attention to what's happening? And then you can kind of go from there and see a physician and let them know what you're experiencing, and then as you find out what it is that's happening, then we deal with it accordingly. Now, when we talk about heart disease, one of the main ones, diagnosis is CAD. A diagnosis of CAD, which means coronary artery disease. Coronary artery disease is caused by plaque buildup in the wall and arteries that supply blood to your heart. So when there's plaque buildup, it limits the flow of blood to your heart, and your heart is not able to pump as it needs to. So when that plaque is built up, it's because of cholesterol deposits, and the plaque buildup causes inside the arteries to narrow over time. So once it begins to blockage, it causes that blockage over time. As it sits, the walls of your arteries, begin to narrow. So that makes it even harder for it to get blood through to your heart. So then you have a blockage, and that blockage prevents other things from coming through, the flow of blood that needs to get to your heart so that it operates properly. So when we think about coronary artery disease, CAD, we know that that is a leading cause of death a lot of times, with a lot of our people, Blacks individually have heart disease as a major cause of death. But when I researched from the CDC, heart disease is the major leading cause of death in women nationwide, irregardless of our heart, irregardless to our color, nationality, or creed. It is one of the leading causes of death. And as I said, in 2020, although we've had deaths, an unsurmountable totals due to COVID 2019, heart disease is the leading cause of death over COVID-19. It was number 3, and heart disease was number 1. So because of that, I really wanted to deal with the fact that we have to deal with the matters of heart. Sometimes when we're looking at it in the natural and we're talking about heart disease and the plaque buildup and things of that nature, we need to look at what is it that I need to change? What is it that I'm eating? Because as we said, it has to do with cholesterol, the buildup of cholesterol. And so the first thing we need to think about is, what is it that I'm eating? What is it that I need to change? One of the leading causes of death, as we said, is heart disease in women. But I have found that if we concentrate on losing weight, then a lot of the illnesses across the board could be eradicated due to the fact of our losing weight. Now, let's flip this over into a spiritual side. Sometimes, and I talked to you a couple segments back about lifting weights, and sometimes that we're lifting weights that are too heavy for us. And believe it or not, I told you that I injured myself trying to lift a weight that was heavier than what I should have lifted. And God told me sometimes we are lifting weights that are not for us to lift. And now on the other side, I'm talking about losing weight, dropping weight. And in the natural, a lot of times we're going through different things. We experience, a lot of hurt, a lot of anger, unforgiveness, all kinds of things that we go through from over time. Because as children, we were born, we came into the world, we loved everybody. We wanted to make friends, and we wanted to be friends with everybody. We forgave easily. But what happens over time as we become adults and we experience various things in life, they harden our heart. And when our heart is hardened, the arteries are blocked. So the blood flow, or the flow of love that can come from out of our hearts, is hindered because of the fact that we have got a blockage. We have allowed plaque to build up in our natural heart. And when our heart is blocked, we are not able to give love like we need to, nor are we able to receive it. And a lot of times, we think that, we're okay. We're masking it. We're saying, I'm all right. I'm not going to, we say, I'm not going to do this because, or I'm not going to allow anybody to only come but this far. But a lot of times, if we be honest, it's because of plaque buildup that we have allowed to come in our hearts. So we want to deal with that today, because all of us, I don't know one woman that does not need or want to be loved. We want to be loved by our children. We want to be loved by our spouses. We want to be loved by the people that we interact with on a daily basis. And a lot of times we give more than we received. And that is really, whether you believe it or not, the way we were made up. We were made and built to take things. There have been a lot of disappointments, a lot of things that we as women will take and go through and accept. But over time, if we don't deal with it in the right way, it causes a blockage. And that blockage hinders us from being able to move forward in our lives. So how do we get rid of it? How do we heal from the blockage of our hearts? One of the things that I have learned, and I am still learning, just sharing what I have learned, one of them is to pay attention to what you're eating. In the natural, if I know that cholesterol buildup is a part of what causes a blockage in my heart arteries, then I'm going to limit the amount of fatty things that I'm eating, because I don't want to incur heart disease. I don't want to have to deal with seeing a cardiologist, that's going to put me on special medicine, that is going to have to allow me to give injections to myself, so that I can get myself in a position that I'm able to live a healthy life. If I know these things, if I'm paying attention and I'm able to research what will help me to prevent the coronary artery disease or plaque buildup in my life, then I am able to make those changes. I have to discipline myself to make those changes. The same way I have to do that in the natural, we need to do that when it comes to our hearts spiritually. We have to protect our hearts. The word of God says, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So what I have allowed to build up in my heart eventually comes out of my mouth. So I asked you, what are you eating? Now, am I amiss to say that we've never been hurt? Because I can't say that I have never been hurt. I've been hurt a lot. And I'm sure that you have as well. But it's what we choose to do with the things that we go through, what I choose to feed myself. If I want to keep my heart clear, irregardless to what somebody may say or have done to me or to you, if I want to keep my heart clear and not allow blockages, then I have to be careful what I'm eating. When I say that, I mean I can't keep rehearsing a wrong that was done. Sometimes you're trying to get past a situation, but you can't seem to get over the hurdle because you continue to relive it. You continue to rehearse what was done. You continue to replay, just like you had a tape recorder or a CD player. You played that record over and over again. And the more you play it over and over again, you're causing buildup to amount in your heart. And when buildup happens, eventually there's a blockage to the point that nothing can get through. And then what ends up happening is that it bursts, it explodes, and once it explodes, it causes all kinds of damage, so when I think about the matters of the heart, I work on daily, not reliving the things that have happened. I've had many hurtful things that have been done, said in my past, sometimes even more closer than a few years ago or 10 years ago, recent. But the way that I'm keeping my heart clear and the way that I'm keeping myself from being with blockages is to not rehearse it. Sometimes we are not only rehearsing it by what we listen to, or we keep talking to ourselves about it, or we allow other people to talk to us about it, or we go back and read it again. If I'm trying to continue in a life and be happy, if I'm trying to keep myself from living in a spot where my heart is continually blocked, I can't love the way I want to, and I can't receive the love that is trying to come to me, then I have to be careful what I'm eating. What are you eating today? What are you eating? Are you taking the time to evaluate the things that you're putting in your mouth? Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. What's in your heart eventually is going to come out. A lot of times people say things and then they say, I didn't mean to say that. But they did mean to say it. They might not have meant for it to come out then, but it was meant to be said because it was in their heart. And so we have to be careful what we allow to stay in our heart. Sometimes we just have to, realize what's going on. See, sometimes we have to be quiet, and a lot of times that's hard to do, when you might feel that you're being wronged, or you feel that, you have a point, you have something that you want to say. And that may be true, but a lot of times we have to think about, when I say what I'm going to say, what is the fallout behind this? When I say what I want to say, is any good going to really come of it? So we have to think about our heart issues and the matters of our heart. What's really going on? What's really the root cause? As I said, when we think about coronary artery disease and the blockage in our health, we need to think about the blockage in our hearts when it comes to the spiritual side, that we don't allow things to just sit in our heart. We don't allow ourselves to keep regurgitating the wrongs, that we don't keep allowing ourselves to spit it out, say I forgive, and keep bringing it back. Matters of the heart are so important. It is so important that we understand what is going on with us at all times. The only person that really knows what's happening with us is God. And so, because he's the one that knows what's happening to us, we need to take the time and say in prayer and say, God, help me. Help me to know what's really going on with me. Help me, Lord, to give this problem to you. Help me to release it and let it go. Because a lot of times when we don't let it go, the person that is being hurt the most is you. Several years ago, the Lord gave me a song that was entitled, Let It Go. Because a lot of times we're looking at the things that we see on the surface. And yeah, sometimes we might, have a right to feel the way we do. And sometimes it's just our own feeling. There's always, they say, 3 or 2 sides to all the stories. And there's always my opinion, your opinion. And there's always what this person may think versus what you may think. And they're all different. But what the word does tell us to do is come, and reason together. And sometimes he also tells us, for as much as lies within you, to live peaceably with all men. And sometimes that involves, you're having to handle things a different way so that there will be peace. Until such time as you can come and reason together. If there is someone or something that you are dealing with and you're not able to actually handle it right now the way you want to, or maybe to talk or to communicate, I want you first of all to remember that you matter. You are so important to not only God, to your family, to those that are in your community, but most of all, I want you to realize that you matter to you. Life is too short. And it can change at any moment. I tell the saints at my church a lot of times that we need to live rapture ready. We need to prepare ourselves and our hearts to be ready to leave this earth at any given moment. We don't know when that is, but the word of God clearly states that there is a time given to man when they will leave this earth. The same time that we were born, God already assigned a time that we would leave this earth. And if God were to call your name today, are you ready? Is my question. The Bible says, Lord, who shall abide in thy tabernacle? And who shall dwell in thy holy hill? He that walketh upright. He that speaketh the truth in his heart. That means being honest with yourself. And he that backbiteth not against his neighbor. There's so much tied into our being prepared to leave this world. Is what you're doing today, and is what you're allowing today in your heart taking you to your destination or preparing you for your destination? Think about it. You only have one life to live. And after this life is the judgment. So we don't have time to waste on things that sometimes we can't do anything about. There are things that we can do things about, and then there are things that we can't do anything about. And we have to give those things to God. And the things that we do have power in our hands to do something about, we still talk to him and ask him for guidance on how and when to handle them. Then my key and point to you would be to listen. So think about it today. Matters of the heart. You matter. Don't allow plaque to build up in your heart. Do what you can about what you can. But have the courage and wisdom to know the difference. That the things we can't control, God can. Love those that are a part of your family. Love your friends. Do all that you can, while it is day. For when night cometh, no man can work. Live rapture ready. Live rapture ready. The condition of your heart is so important. Matters of the heart. Self-evaluate today on the matters of your heart. I hope that something that was said will help you and encourage you to continue to do what God wants you to do. This is Lady Christine from Woman to Woman on the POGBN network. We love you. Have a wonderful day.